This is a Nice Guys Patreon exclusive.
Welcome to another Ice Guys team season preview video, 32 teams in 32 days. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and we are talking Montreal Canadiens. I got to do it. They made the playoffs last year. It was an unexpectedly very good season for the Canadiens. We got to bust out the old song. Bleu, blanc, rouge, au Canadien, au Canadien. There we go. Little Montreal Canadiens to get us all fired up. And who better to join us than our good buddy, old member of the Ice Guys crew, Andrew McGinnis. Andrew, how are you?
Allez, Montreal. Looking forward to another season, hopefully making the playoffs. And, Nick Suzuki had a great quote today at the annual golf, tournament where all the players and managers speak, where he pretty much said, last year, none of you guys thought we were going to make the playoffs, but I did. So I'll let you guys know my expectations again, pretty much saying like, hey, doubt me last year, I'll prove you wrong. Doubt me again this year, we'll prove you wrong again. So I know it sounds cliche, but one thing about this group is like they've kind of all grown up together, and they're kind of, a lot of them are close to the same age. So it's pretty cool to see, no matter what the expectations were on the outside, they had their own expectations on the inside.
And clearly, we talked about how they wanted to make the playoffs. That was a goal going into the season. Didn't start off well, but boy, did they come on strong in the back half of the season, no question. Check out that documentary series they do for the Montreal Canadiens. Very good. It's available, I know, in Canada on Crave. You can probably find it if you're in the U.S. They do a good job with that. It's a pretty good watch. Montreal Canadiens, as we talked about, playoff team last year, 91 points. They had to fend off Columbus down the stretch to get that spot, but they did. And obviously, look, getting into the playoffs, it's already a successful season. It was just playing with house money. It was, all regardless of where it went from there, it was already a great, successful season. I thought they made a solid account of themselves against Washington in that first round. They pushed them a little bit, and they got, more importantly, this young core to gain some very valuable playoff experience. Not just playoff experience for them, but probably good for Marty St. Louis. The head coach as well. He had a little playoff experience as a head coach, at least, under his belt, which he was able to do. When you look at the Montreal Canadiens and you start up front, there is a great young nucleus forming here. Nick Suzuki, the captain, how great was he down the stretch, almost willing the team almost into the postseason with his performance as the captain of the team, especially later in the year. 89 points, 30 goals, 59 assists. Cole Caulfield on his left side. Uri Slafkovsky on the right side. I think when you look at Slafkovsky, has he definitely taken steps the last 2 years? No question about that. Now, the goals dipped a little bit last year, but he did get 1 point more than he got 2 years ago. And I think the expectation is there. He can just improve on that, get maybe closer to that point per game plateau that people have expectations of. I'd love to see him use his physicality even more. I think he's starting to realize, I'm a big guy. I got a big frame. Let's start using it. Let's use that to our advantage and play a more physical brand of hockey. I'd love to see him continuing to develop that in his game this year, no question. A full year of Ivan Demidov. The playoffs were a struggle, no question. But gosh, they got the guy just right out of Russia. All of a sudden, the KHL. It's going to be very difficult right away to just hit the ground running. The highlight was against poor Alex's Chicago Blackhawks, the way he played that game there to start. What a brilliant night that was for him. Kind of some growing pains after that, but the skill is undeniable. There's the vision, the passing. Obviously, he's capable of finishing with the shot as well, but I find his vision on the ice was already so very impressive. And now a full season of Ivan Demidov has Habs fans like our guy here, Andrew, probably very, very excited to see what could come of that. Kirby Dach, is someone that has had significant injury setbacks. He's on target to be ready for the opener against Toronto on October the 8th from that knee issue. We'll see if he's ready to return. Again, just cross your fingers that health finally gets there for this guy, and that's obviously been an issue. And I love them bringing in Zach Bolduc. We're big Zach Bolduc fans from the St. Louis Blues. We love the way he played there with that Blues team and gives them, a bona fide offensive option. And keep in mind, too, 36 points last year in 72 games with the Blues. We're going to probably start the season in the top 6, most likely, here for the Montreal Canadiens, because I think he's going to be second line for this Montreal Canadiens team. So real chance to improve the offensive production of last year, which he already showed what he could be capable of. The bottom six, meanwhile, you've got Brendan Gallagher, Alex Newhook, Josh Anderson, Jake Evans, Joe Veleno going to be here now with this team. We'll see, Patrick Laine, he's a one-dimensional player. I hate to say it, but it's the one-timer on the power play, nothing too much even strength, not going to throw his weight around, not going to be most responsible player defensively. It's just the same things with him. He does have that one-timer on the power play, but like I said, I think Montreal's starting to figure out he's becoming more of a power play weapon. And a lot of the rest of his game, there are still a ton of limitations when it comes to Patrick Laine. The blue line, I mean, Mike Matheson, Noah Dobson, obviously getting him in that trade with the New York Islanders. Obviously, he's had a nice career for himself with the Islanders and now gets to join an up-and-coming Montreal Canadiens team. As far as his point production, it dropped last year. It was amazing 2 years ago, 70 points, 79 games. Last year, just 39 points, 71 games. I'm not going to fret about that because I think Noah Dobson can be good defensive. They need a little bit of that. They need the defensive component. I think Noah Dobson has really improved his defensive game as a blue liner. And you don't have to worry as much. He doesn't have to put it all on his plate offensively with this team because you got Lane Hudson on this hockey team. And Lane Hudson, who just, what more can you say about the incredible rookie season from him last year for this Montreal Canadiens team? 66 points in 82 games, 60 assists, just an absolute weapon on the power play. Another player with just outstanding vision, great passing ability, and he certainly put that on display. Lane Hudson, a very special player. Caden Gooley gives you a little bit of that sandpaper element, solid, he'll be physical. My guy from right here in the Hammer, Hamilton, there you see it. We got the Team Ted jerseys from Friday night when we went to the game, by the way. Great moment there, honoring the GM who passed away, the Ticats. But anyway, I digress. Arbor Jackeye from right here in the Hammer. I like that he's still a meaningful component of this team, throws his weight around. I think he's gotten better. I really do. I think other elements, his skating's gotten a little bit better. He's not afraid to jump into the play either. I think we saw that develop more and more last year. Carrier, you got Struble, Del Gaizo as a little bit of some depth options on the blue line. In goal, it's going to be interesting. Sam Montembeault, the days of us having concerns about him, he had a very solid year last year. Obviously, Jakob Dobish in a backup role was able to come in there, spell Montembeault and play pretty well, but, really good numbers. A career best 2.82 goals against average for Samuel Montembeault last year. We'll see if he can maintain that. Jakob Dobish showed as a pretty solid backup, considering, he had no NHL regular season experience before then. And we all know what's waiting in the wings down in the American League. The guy that's thought of as the goalie of the future for Montreal, and Jacob Fowler. So like I said, there's not too many worries for Montreal in goal. Even if Montembeault stumbles, takes a step back, Dobish is not ready to take the mantle as a number one. If something were to happen to Montembeault, you've got Fowler. If it's emergency, you can throw him in there. Would he be ready? But, you got depth is the bottom line when it comes to Montreal in net. So, look, they made the playoffs last year. There is that little worry now that teams are going to face Montreal and saying, hey, this team made the playoffs. We got to be ready. We got to be on our toes. Got to be ready to play this team. And maybe, Montreal might have some tough nights because of that. But I think this is just the beginning of a great run of, being a playoff team every year and eventually getting to that next step of contending for a Stanley Cup. And I still very much like this Montreal team as far as I'm concerned here. And I bet them already. FanDuel stage of elimination this year, Montreal. I think they're not only going to make the playoffs, I think they're going to win a round this year. And I think they're going to get knocked out in the second round. I've got them knocked out in the second round, conference semifinals, and I bet that at plus 600 at FanDuel.
Nice.
Montreal, stage of elimination, conference semifinals, plus 600. I think they take another step. They got to the first round and lost last year. I think this year they'll get in and win a first-round series, and then they'll get bounced in the second round. So I'm taking my shot with that. Alex, your thoughts on Montreal Canadiens?
Yeah, this is an exciting young bunch, and this is a team that we've seen continue to really grow over the last couple of years. And I like the core group. I like where they're at. I feel like they're really one superstar away from being a team that can truly contend for a cup. And that's a case of, do they go out and get that guy, or is that guy already in that locker room? Can Cole Caulfield make that, second leap and really be in that top 10 conversation? Can Patrick Laine kind of, find the magic of old and get back to the top form that we know he can play his highest level, and stay healthy throughout a year? Or Elaine Hudson as a defenseman, can he maybe take a step and be one of those premier guys who can really kind of lead this team? There's a lot of hard workers, but there needs to be a superstar, a face, a guy of, this is the guy we put the puck on his stick at the time we need him to score a goal to put the game on our side. That's the one thing I feel is missing from this team. But the makeup, like you said, they're going to be feisty bunch. This is a team you do not want to face in a best of 7 series, in my opinion. And I'm right there with you. I'm probably going to split between that stage of elimination bet. I'll grab a plus 190 with a first round elimination, and that 6-1 with the second round. But I definitely see them making strides moving forward, and I actually think they have some good success right out of the gate. I've been talking about this with a couple of videos, and shout out to DraftKings for having this option of standings points in October. They have over unders. I like the over 12.5 points at minus $1.20 with Montreal. When you look at how the schedule lays out for them, now they have 7 of their 11 games in October on the road. 3-game road set opening with Toronto, Detroit, and Chicago. Those are all home openers. And I actually like Montreal. I probably would be betting them individually in that home opener against the Blackhawks, because they will be opening on the road and then coming back home. Then they have a homestand against Seattle, Nashville, New York Rangers, and the Buffalo Sabres. I could easily see 3, if not maybe 4 wins out of that. And then they go on the road at Calgary, at Edmonton, at Vancouver, and at Seattle. So over 12.5 points, you just need 7 wins, essentially. I definitely see 7 wins within those first 11 games. So I'm grabbing that minus $1.20.
Not bad. A little soft schedule in October for the Montreal Canadiens to maybe let this young group get their sea legs under them, get in good form to begin the year, and very possible that they can capitalize on a manageable schedule. Andrew, as you can see, is on the move here with his trusty companion there, Henry, in the background. Andrew, what do you think here for your team, Montreal?
I gotta say, those bets are pretty cool. I thought I was up to date with all these cool bets. I didn't even know about the elimination one preseason like that.
Yeah,
And then
stage of elimination at
the October
FanDuel
one with Alex. That's even cooler. Like the fact that you're betting. And I mean, Alex, I think if this might be the most dedicated sports like hockey fan I've been throughout a summer in my entire life. Like usually, you guys know how it is. Like when it gets to the playoffs, especially with work purposes, not even just fan purposes, like once it gets to the end of the playoffs, you're almost like you don't even want to talk about hockey for a little while.
Right.
But the Habs, I've remained listening to Tony Marinaro and reading Stu Cowan and looking at all these guys and their podcasts and their articles and Marco D'Amico. And because let's be honest, like the city's more engaged than they have been in a long time. A lot of people keep on talking about how it has, how they've been practicing so much at Brassard in Laval, and the players came back a lot earlier. And Laine actually stayed all summer. Besides 1 or 2 trips elsewhere, he was there. Demidov was there all summer. Him and his girlfriend wanted to get to know the city. They wanted to learn English better. People might say like, oh, maybe that was always the case with these teams, but they just weren't really broadcasting it. But I still think that it's pretty rare to see what we saw, like even a couple weeks ago. Apparently there were over 35 players between AHL and NHL players in the Habs on the ice with Adam Nicholas, the skills coach for the team. So that's pretty cool. And it's not even just like it's the fans and us bettors that can tell there's a buzz with the team right now. I think it's, everybody's kind of seeing it. But to your guys' point, like maybe that also does mean there's a target on their back. With what Alex you said there, but I think that the start for them is so huge. Like, and Ian, you mentioned the documentary. Like, obviously, a big part with them was their first half was brutal. Like, they just got caught up in losing streaks. I think back to I think it was like they had like an 8-2 loss against Seattle. They had an 8-3 loss against Pittsburgh. Like, those are losses. People say like, oh, well, an L is an L on the score sheet or in the schedule. Well, it's really not, because if you're a general manager or you're up there in Jeff Molson, you're thinking, well, if my team loses 3-2 in OT to a good team, it's a little more respectable, at least, than getting slapped around by Seattle or Pittsburgh, especially because both those teams didn't even make the playoffs, and they did. So I think the maturity level and also like being able to fight some adversity, it has to be withstanding, a couple punches, not being able to deal with losing streaks. Like it's okay to lose 2 in a row. Let's not lose 3 in a row this year. Or if you lose 4 in a row, you better come back home and win. But yeah, the schedule is actually decent to start the season off. I actually thought about flying up for the home opener, and I was like, Seattle and Nashville, first 2 games. I'll see you guys in, in different month when there's different games going on. Slafkovsky, I guess he might be my biggest defending guy that I defend the most probably on the team, whether it's to other Habs fans or other teams, because if you guys look at the role he plays with Caulfield and Suzuki on that line, like even though he was the first overall pick, if we look at that line, is he projected by anybody to be the one that's out there getting the goals every night? Like he is the puck retriever. And like I know he hasn't always used his body at the best, but when they drafted him, number one, you couldn't draft Cooley because he's too small and the team already was too small. But number two, we weren't going to find out how we felt about him until the playoffs. And what I saw from him in that game 3 told me everything I need to know about him. Like that give and go with Caulfield, he went to the net, redirected it in. I think he caused the turnover where Lane Hudson then passed it to Caulfield. Ovechkin was there, and to me, his presence and the way he plays is getting better and better. So that top line is great. People have been talking about Demidov or different players maybe threatening Slav on the top line. I think this is going to be one of those lines. And don't come at me for saying this, but it's the Pasta Bergeron Marchand for so long. That was the line. I mean, every team has it. I think this is going to be the Habs line for a very long time. And the funny thing is, when I think about negatives for last year, it was that the Habs didn't have a second line. That was the biggest negative because we had a good, and yeah, I said we they had a good third and fourth line, but they didn't really have a second line. And a lot of it has to do with Kirby Doc, but a lot of it has to do with the Line A injury. And, Alex Newhook, he is a great third liner or an unbelievable fourth liner. I think he's a great third liner on a team, not a good second liner, And for Bolduc, I think he's like an unbelievable third liner and a great second liner. So when you look at the options they have now scoring wise, like when I turned my TV on to watch Habs games last year, it was like, all right, like Caulfield, Suzuki, and then somebody random was going to score, like Evans or Gallagher or a defenseman or something. But now when you look at Demidov and what he's capable of doing, I know he just played the rookies, but I mean, he looked like men against boys out there in that rookie classic on the weekend. He's going to be fantastic. You mentioned, Ian, of course, the playoff element. It's tough to go into the playoffs after you play just 2 regular season games because obviously we all know how different the physicality is and stuff like that with it. So, and also the blue line. I mean, the maturity for there. You lose David Savard, Matheson's still there, but Gooley, the experience. His biggest enemy is staying healthy with his wonky injuries he gets because he's great. Like I think he's one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. Like that might be my most biased take as a Habs fan, honestly. Like nobody really knows Caden Gooley and what he does. Let's not forget he scored a big goal in that game. I think it was against Carolina to help them punch their ticket to the playoffs. So he's great. Carrier, look, as much as I hated to see the Halifax guy, Justin, get traded there, I thought he had to. I mean, it was the end of the day. Getting Carrier back over to Halifax or to Montreal was great. And I think that when you look at this blue line now, it's very spread out. You've got your offensive defenseman, you've got your defensive defenseman. So, the worries I have a little bit, actually, guys, might sound funny, are the worries I didn't have last year is the steadiness of the bottom 6. Because right now, the identity, every Habs fan loves the Evans, Gallagher, Anderson line. And every Habs fan knew that was probably the best line during the Capitals series last year. But the bottom 6 has to remain the bottom 6 that can play under St. Louis style. And when you lose Dvorak and you lose Armia, I know most households aren't saying, oh my God, the Habs lost Dvorak and Armia, but those are 2 puck protectors. Those are 2 penalty killers. Those are guys, you know what the nickname was for Armia? House. because he was like a house. He was built like a house. He could protect everything. He would go down low. He could protect the puck. Same thing with Dvorak. They weren't flashy. They weren't that skillful. The big thing for me is going to be the bottom six. Have yourself a good bottom six. They finally have a second line now. And Ian, you mentioned that you think that Bolduc could be on the second line, and I would typically agree with you. But at the end of the day, is if that's not Line A's spot, then where is Line A? You know, so I think that Line A is going to have to start at 2 until he's demoted, because we know Bolduc is more of a third line player than Line A is, and that's not a shot at Bolduc.
And
it's
if
more
Bolduc
of a,
goes on the third line, you lengthen your lineup offensively a little
exactly.
bit. We're able to give that bottom six a little more punch, because there is questions about enough offensive production and punch from the bottom six, the third and the fourth line.
Yeah, and you know, Line A. The fact is that they had the meeting with Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon, but going into the offseason last year, and they pretty much said, "Look, man, we want to be able to have you in defensive zone faceoffs. We want to be able to have you in neutral zone faceoffs. We can't just have you. I mean, to what your point was, be that that guy that we throw out there when we need a goal late in the game, or we have a 5-on-4 or 5-on-3. Like, it can't just be that guy, especially for what he's making. Let's be honest. So." I'm looking forward to it, guys. I think Demidov's going to be the best Habs player. I'm 28 years old. I think Demidov's going to be the best player that I've ever watched play in a Habs uniform. Give it a couple years. I'm that confident that he is that superstar. This is going to be one of those ones where I bet Calder winner on Demidov now, and people are looking at the 6, 7, 8-1 longer shots, and I'm thinking by November, December, we're seeing a minus number next to Demidov, or a really short price. So I'm not trying to throw out some type of clickbait take here, guys, or get a little clip here for us. I'm that confident that Demidov's going to be awesome. The question we all have, I think, is he built for the physical play? I mean, we saw, like you said, he struggled in the playoffs a little bit, but he is going to be unbelievable on the power play. He'll rack up points there right away, being on the PP1. There's not a world we live in where I think he'll start in the power play too. He'll be PP1 right away. So it's going to be awesome. And I think that for me, getting to the playoffs again, but also getting to the playoffs comfortably. If I were to tell you guys my goal for them is getting to the playoffs comfortably. Like, winning a round would be unbelievable. And as much as I hated hearing Ian say them losing in round 2, getting to round 2 would be awesome. My personal goal as a Canadiens fan for the team this year is getting to the playoffs comfortably, being in a position throughout the year where I have a feeling they're going to make the playoffs, and not having to sweat it up all the way until the last minute. I think if we were to make any player prop predictions, and if you could find any, I would probably be looking at taking some props on Slavkovsky this year. His contract kicks in, the maturity's there, he's getting older, getting more comfortable. I think it's a really good spot for him.
So you might have already just answered this question, but I'll just ask it and rephrase it again. You'd rather see this team, say, grab the number 2 spot in the Atlantic and home ice and get bounced in the first round, as opposed to, say, having to struggle to be a wild card and then win in a round and then move forward? You think? Would you say there's growth to be made in one spot more than the other? I know you'd rather obviously see them win as a fan, but do you believe that there would be more growth in them having a better regular season and comfortably getting into the playoffs, as opposed to having to scramble again and then maybe getting lucky and winning a round?
Right.
Honestly, that's a really good question. I'll stand by that. I think again, as much I like how you said that, you're like, don't worry, I know you want to make them go as far as you can, but to your point, like, I think that that's the next step, because the start of that Crave documentary was them just using the word mix. You want to be in the mix, whether it was French or English, whatever it was, we're going to be in the mix. So I think the goal this year should be comfortability. The funny thing is over the past, like, I'll just say, like, year and a half, 2 years, the Canadiens never really made it clear they were going to be buyers. And you get that price contract off the books, they have some space. And if I'm as confident about Demidov as I am, and Lane Hudson has to get paid soon, it sounds crazy, guys, but a window to win for this team is in the next, like, 3-4 years. And so, like, they're probably going to be active at the deadline. If not, like, I would bet you they can make a trade before December, because some people say it's the trade deadline, then it's free agency, then it's half day, and that it goes away for a while. Everybody enjoys their summer, and then people all right now think their team is good. And then you give it October, November, if some teams start crashing and burning, then the fire sale begins. So I like Kirby Dach as the 2C, but let's be honest, like based on what recent events have told us and his injury issues, they probably need to pick up a second line center. So they're going to have to add something for sure. We'll see if they can. Do you guys, I'm curious, like I watch so much stuff when I'm consumed as a Habs fan, but do you guys think that this could be actually, because we all know there's been defensive issues. Montembeau's been great and Doba stepped in well. Some people are concerned that there's too many cooks in the kitchen as far as, like, I think this Habs team is going to be finally a team totals over team. Like, I'm worried that this is going to be a team that could have a night where they score 3 or 4 goals and not win. And that's not a slight at Montembeau, but it's more so like, are they going to be, with the new talent that they have, and the goal scoring capabilities, are they going to be able to stick to the system that Marty St. Louis wants them to play in now that they're more talented? Like, trust me, I am no fool. I know over the last
puck out of their net early last year. They got used to the system. They bought in. That's when they made their run, when the defense started to play better, to go with the goal scoring. You worry that with Demidov trying to not show off early, but, trying to put his imprint in the National Hockey League in his first full season, that some of the defensive focus dissipates, goes away.
You worry about Dobson too, right? Like, Dobson is an offensive guy. Lane Hudson's an offensive guy, and Caden Gooley likes to jump in the rush sometimes.
They're the guys that are going to play the most minutes too, and they're more offensive on the blue line.
But to be fair, I'll play devil's advocate here. I trust in Montreal, trusting in their goalie development and in their system. They know the defensemen they have in Lane Hudson. They know what they got in the Noah Dobson, that these are guys who are going to be up in the rush. So, one, you have to trust in your stay-at-home defenseman. That's for damn sure. But you have to also trust in your goaltending as well. And I think they have the deepest goaltending, arguably, in the league. When you look just organizationally, you got Montembeau, Dobish. You have Kakinen, who, for as much shit as we talked on him, he had a great AHL run and looked like he could be someone who's a formidable backup if he needs to jump in.
He's at least played a lot of NHL games, a lot of NHL inventory.
He has the experience, and he's coming off of a decent season of pro hockey. That in itself can be worth something. Maybe he has a resurgence. Mandalay coming over from Ottawa. This is a guy who was kind of caught in a log jam in the AHL in that organization. Now he gets to kind of break free. And, of course, you got Fowler coming up through.
Luke Cavalin. What did he do for Trois Rivières? They won the
exactly.
ECHL, yeah.
Yeah, and so you have a wealth of depth. It'll be interesting to watch. It's probably the most interesting thing to watch for the Habs as far as preseason games go, to see just how they manage their goaltending, what each goaltender does in the time that they get in that limited time. But I think the goaltending being so deep that they may push each other a bit more. Montembeau can make that another leap forward. Dobish can make another leap forward. That battle for number 2. There's 3 guys right there at least that could at least battle each other for that number 2 spot. So that alone should make for some interesting. We don't talk about preseason betting strategy, but maybe unders in Habs games if you got these goaltenders really battling it out. And trying to play more defensively. Maybe that's where you see the defensive play is early in the preseason and the regular season. And then as things kind of sort out, we'll see the offense take over in games. And you'll see those 6-5 games. And that's the thing. I trust in Montreal's offense to win 5-4 battles now, where before it seemed like, if they got into a boat race with most of the teams in the East, they probably end up losing. I trust that they can hang around in some of those battles. And I think the goaltending has a lot.
I love to hear that. Well, and this year, too, there's competition within vets, not just rookies.
Yeah.
Like Joshua Waugh. Like, he's a guy that people are saying, and the French writers, they're saying this has to be, like, the biggest training camp of his career. He got cut last year for Emil Heinemann, who now is traded to the New York Islanders, right? Like, Joshua Waugh does not want to be in Laval. And you got Joe Veleno. Guys, I remember back when I was doing media for the QMJHL, the local team here, Joe Veleno had exceptional status, which means he was playing as a 15-year-old with 20-year-olds in junior hockey. Joe Veleno was not meant to be a guy that gets passed around the league. Like, he was meant to be, he had the same hype as like an Alexis Lafreniere or even more hype as him probably. Right. And now he ends up like, let's not kid ourselves. As a Habs fan, I'm not going to get in trouble by saying it's there's no accident that he's French and he joined the Habs for like a min contract. Let's not kid ourselves. But and then you got Sammy Blais too, but there's only so many spots available,
That's right.
and also
And how about
like
the Laval
Blais,
team, Andrew? All the guys that are there, Owen Beck, and up front, and on the blue line, Logan Mailloux and Philip Messar. When's they're thinking he's going to be a future Hab. I mean, there's tons of guys in Laval that are knocking on the door too.
Yeah,
and they all played well at
St. Louis now.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead, Andrew. Keep going.
I was gonna say, man, I know I'm not trying to correct you, Ian, but I know you're always got your stuff. Mailloux was the traded guy for St. Louis.
That's right. Yeah, he went to St. Louis. Yeah, that's true.
So that's crazy. It goes to show, but there's so much competition down there, right? Like, and the thing is, guys, who would you rather have be your number 13? Would you rather it be a rough and tough guy and a veteran like Sammy Blais, or would you want it to be Joshua Roy? Because I'm not going to have Joshua Roy play the Michael Pezzetta role and sit in the bleachers for 73 games, right?
Right. Yeah.
So like they were very deep. Like all you have to do is see that Laval got deep into the AHL playoffs and that their ECHL affiliate Trois Rivières, the Lions, they won the ECHL Kelly Cup. They knocked out the juggernaut that is our buddy Jordan Sandbrook and his Florida Everblades last year.
That's good to see. That's good. It's good to see that kind of organizational depth with a franchise that may have struggled with organizational depth in recent years. So it's definitely worth seeing that growth and movement overall.
For sure.
I will take a shot with over 92.5 points because all they got to do is improve on last year by 2 points. They were 91. If they get to 93, they can get there. I'm in on the Demidov. You mentioned I don't love that he's such a significant favorite. Like he's plus 190, and the next, for the Calder Cup, and then you got Zeev Buyem at 13-1. There's a huge gap after Demidov as far as the Calder Cup futures are concerned, but he definitely's got a real good chance to win it. But I like over 58.5 points for Demidov. I'm going to sprinkle on 10-1, 30 goals. 10-1, 30 goals this year for Ivan Demidov. It's just a sprinkle. Just a sprinkle. I think it's worth it at that price.
If he doesn't get that goals one, he'll get the assist, but he'll get the points because his most underrated asset right now is his playmaking. Like he is, as much as he's got that swag to him, guys, he likes to win. Like he is a playmaker. He doesn't mind passing the puck. He'll score you some great goals. Watch it when you watch this guy. Like you saw his first ever play was that pass to Alex Newhook against the Blackhawks. Yeah. His first career point. I mean, if you could have made, I know this sounds funny, but if you could have made a bet, which would his first point would have been, a goal or an assist? I bet you people would have said goal, but he's got a lot. He does a really good job of bringing people in, attracting people to him, and then he passes it off.
Yeah, it sucks everybody into looking into getting him, guarding him, and then all of a sudden there he goes. He passes off and just makes a great play and wide open teammate. And it's what Michael Jordan used to do. From time to time in the NBA.
I love it.
So good that three people would try to stop him and then kick it out to John Paxson for a game-winning 3 like he did in the NBA Finals. It's a long time ago, different sport, but the analogy makes sense. Great stuff.
I love the analogy.
You know what, Andrew? We didn't realize where you were when we scheduled this, but we're going to run an ad and say goodbye. We'll let you go now so that you can keep going, but we appreciate this very much, you joining us here for the Montreal Canadiens preview. Just, is there anything you wanted to say about Montreal before we let you go? And also talk about your show, late night, this NHL season. You got a new late night show starting.
Yeah, thank you guys, as always. Definitely super excited for that late night show. The big thing for me is that I think this team has to have a fast start, but I think the big thing, if you want to look at props, look towards the second line players. Second line players are probably you're going to get the most value. Suzuki and Caulfield, everybody knows those are kind of the guys, but watch out for those second line players, whether it be Bolduc, whether it be Demidov, or whether it be Doc. If Doc can stay healthy, he'll be really good. But always good chatting with you guys. Sorry for being on my phone here with this one. And yeah, starting a new show, 10 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. The whole premise of it is obviously talking about the scores of the night that have happened so far. But the big thing is shelf life. you guys know how it is with the betting content game and just betting in general.
Yeah, it's not going to be
looking
necessarily a live bet cast. It's going to be also going to look ahead to tomorrow's games, the next game. Yeah,
exactly. And so every Friday, and I look forward to having both you guys on. Every Friday, I'm going to be having a different bettor on, sports bettor with me, to break down the entire Saturday card. That's a little bit tough to do on your own. It's just you the whole time. Right. So we'll be looking forward to that. So I really appreciate it, guys. We'll talk to you later.
All right, Andrew. Thanks a lot, my friend. Take care.
Yeah.
There he is, Andrew McGinnis. Great stuff. We'll wrap it up in just a moment, right after we hear from our smoke sponsor, our brand new smoke sponsor on the Ice Guys show, Royal Cannabis.
Royal Cannabis, where the kings and queens shop.
Check it out, 20% off, promo code IceGuys, RoyalCannabisShop.com. This has been your Montreal Canadiens season preview video for Alex P. Smith. I'm Ian Cameron. For Alex P. Smith and Andrew McGinnis, I'm Ian Cameron. Thanks for watching this Montreal Canadiens season preview video as 32 teams in 32 days rolls along courtesy of the Ice Guys.